G'day gamers, I'm Monty, welcome back to another video. Today we're going to go through a bit of a regional recap for the OCE Open number 1 of the RLCS 2025. And we'll get straight on into this one as well, no wasting too much time. But as you can see on the screen here, this is the Wikipedia page, we'll have a quick look. Your top 8, Wildcard, Chiefs, TSM Power in the 3rd to 4th. Of course, TSM were New Jeans, Power of course were Kip Gang, I Love Strawberry, and Oi Oi in the 5th to 6th spot. Walk-in Fridge and Antic X Odium in the 7th to 8th. So that's a quick look at your top 8. We'll go more in detail with these series involved, but we will start off from the Swiss stage. We won't go too heavily in depth in the Swiss stage, and we won't go too heavily in depth in the and we won't go in depth at all to the double elim stage. As you can see here, though, Chiefs, Wildcard, Oi Oi, primarily the main names in Group A of the Swiss stage, or Group B1, according to the start page. Chiefs 3-0, Wildcard 3-0, very much expected. Oi Oi 3-1. They did lose to Wildcard to go to round 4. There was a massive scoreline. I think it was 10-2. I saw that Wildcard beat Oi Oi in Game 2 of that series as well. So, you know, big scoreline, but Oi Oi do recover for that 3rd space. Antic X Odium had a really, really good series against the Chiefs. Didn't get the job done in the end. Went to Game 5. In Game 5, I'm pretty sure the Chiefs overturned a 2 or 3 goal margin as well with not heaps of time left. So they pulled it together. But they did get the job done in the end, beating out Renstew as well, which is a team that didn't qualify, but definitely could have. That is Hawk, Wolftick, and Cobbo's team. Further down, Unforgotten Esports, another 3-1 roster. Losing to Wildcard in round 1. Getting the job done over the Lele's, Farfetched, and Ground Zero, who overall didn't have a fantastic performance in the event, but they did qualify through the Swiss stage, going 3-2 with pretty much winning against the teams you'd probably expect them to beat. They did get the job done over Soldier's Henchmen, who in this group stage look very much like the gatekeeper, I guess. I probably would have expected them to maybe be this 9th team and Renstew jump up one, but they got beat here by Ground Zero, but later on, they as well did beat out Renstew in round 5. So that's pretty much a quick covering of the Swiss stage in Group A. And we can move on to Group B, who was really a standout for New Jeans, Kip Gang, and I Love Strawberry, who now all have organizations, actually. Kip Gang on Power, New Jeans on TSM, and I Love Strawberry on Scrimsworld. But of course, Scrimsworld didn't pick them up until after Open 1. So New Jeans, you'll see that name change to TSM, and Kip Gang, you'll see that name change to Power over the next stage in the GSL stage. But aside from that, this is the Swiss stage here. I Love Strawberry and New Jeans, the 3-0 teams. Pretty respectable stuff straight ahead. I Love Strawberry did get the win over Walk-in Fridge in round 3. I didn't mean to click that, but of course that is the Zombie Freak and Scorchy roster. And on the other side, New Jeans 3-2 against Kip Gang. There was a little bit of discussion on Twitter from the players as well about, hey, maybe Kip Gang and New Jeans shouldn't be playing each other in round 3, but that's what happened, and in the end, they both made a top 4 anyway, so I guess it didn't really impact the overall performance in the event. Maybe it does impact who they play against in the later stages of the playoffs, but it is what it is. Walk-in Fridge, a bit of a standout performer in this one. I thought they looked pretty decent in the offseason as individual players, and they pull it together here. They get the job done over Lunik, Akimbo, and Nothing Better to Do. Probably teams that they're expected to beat. They, of course, did lose to I Love Strawberry, who were probably expected to beat them as well. Kip Gang, one of the other 3-1s. 3-0 against Skylanders, Joyers. 3-0 against Big Chungus. 2-3 loss to New Jeans. 3-1 against Akimbo. Pretty straightforward. Abracadabra, again, beating the teams that they probably should beat. The Pups is down here in the 3-2 alongside Nothing Better to Do and Akimbo, who you see do get some unfavorable results against some of the top teams earlier on into the stage, into the bracket, but they do close it out each in round 5 with a 3-1 win for Nothing Better to Do against Skylanders, a 3-1 win over the top of FNGC, and then a 3-1 win over Dumb Luck Esports. So that is the Swiss stage for the Open. Pretty much straightforward. I think the only real things are maybe the fact that Kip Gang didn't make it through in that 1st or 2nd seed from Group B, but realistically, I don't think it impacted too much later on. And as we move to the group stage, or the GSL stage, You can have a look here. I Love Strawberry, pretty straightforward against Akimbo. Power, pretty straightforward against Abracadabra. Power, pretty straightforward against I Love Strawberry. And of course, Power being that Kid Gang roster. And then a 3-0 loss to Wildcard. So, very just up in the air for Power. They have some good results. They have some not so good results. But it being Wildcard, it's pretty straightforward. Those two teams do qualify through the upper stage. Wildcard just sweeping their way through. Nothing better to do, getting 3-0'd, 3-0'd out of the tournament as well there. Walk-in Fridge, 3-2 over Ground Zero. And then from there, Wildcard just stops them in their tracks. They do get the job done over Akimbo and then lose to I Love Strawberry. But if you make it to the lower bracket final, you are qualified anyway. The one that I really want to look at here is the fact that Ground Zero did get swept out so quickly. That roster being Pagsy, Finn, and Baz. Probably expect them to do better than they did. I was expecting them to be that sort of top 8 roster, maybe in place of a walk-in Fridge or something like that. They're not, even over the top of maybe an Antic or Axo, but they don't get the job done. They do fall to a I Love Strawberry roster who is pretty strong, and I guess in a way that might just be the way that things fall, but at the same time, you know, if they beat Walk-In Fridge, that's probably the big impact series in this one. If Ground Zero get the job done here in Game 5, they probably still lose to Wildcard, but then they have a more favorable matchup against Akimbo, I'd say, and then by then they qualify. So that is really, well and truly, the matchup that sort of cost Ground Zero the run, and they're so also made sure that Walk-In Fridge did make that run for themselves. Group B, Chiefs, TSM, the two big names in this one. Chiefs 3-0 against Soldier's Henchman. Antic or Axo. I keep saying Antic, but it's Axo against Unforgotten Esports 3-2. Chiefs, again, they had a close series against Axo in which they did reverse sweep, and it was a very solid reverse sweep by the end of it. As you can see, they lost the first two, then turned it on 5-0, 7-2, 7-0. They were not going to lose from that point. Further down, TSM 3-0 over Sunday Drive. Oi 3-1 over the Pups. TSM very easily against Oi, to be honest. I was casting that series as the TSM caster, and there was no real pressure on TSM in that series. However, there was a lot of pressure on TSM in this series against the Chiefs, and they just could not get the job done. The one goal here for the Chiefs, it was technically going in the net anyway, but Amphis did hit it into his own net for an own goal. I would probably say it wasn't an own goal. He probably should have saved it, though, but it was on target, not an own goal. I'm not going to bother you with all my thoughts on how own goals should be credited in this stuff. But they did lose 3-0 to TSM the first time they came head-to-head. These two big rosters came head-to-head the first time overall. And then further down in the lower bracket as well, Oi did make that run over the top. Antic 3-0. I mean, based on their performances against the Chiefs alone in this, you're expecting them to make top 8, and they do just that. They do get swept by Oi in the lower bracket final, however. And that leads us to Saturday of the playoffs, which in Saturday we see the lower bracket round 1, and then we see the upper bracket quarterfinals. So it started off Oi 4-0. In fact, all of these being best of 7s, 4-0 over Walk-In Fridge, and 4-0 for I Love Strawberry over Antic/Odium. Realistically, probably what we expected, except Antic or Axo, again, they looked really good against the Chiefs for some parts. Would have liked to see a little bit more from them, but they do get swept out. And then heading on up here, Power looked phenomenal in this series against the Chiefs. They just didn't get the job done in that one in game 7 on Champions Field. 3-2, obviously, there. Chiefs, I don't think the Chiefs looked as good as the Chiefs can look in this series, but the Power roster, you know, definitely pushed them along the way. And of course, Wildcard just continue to win absolutely everything. 4-0 over TSM. Couple of goals scored, well, one goal scored from TSM in each game, but realistically, it's just comfortable over the top for Wildcard. And then the last day, the grand final day, Sunday, the playoff Sunday, whatever you want to call it, you got Power 4-1 over Oi, TSM 4-1 over I Love Strawberry. Probably, again, the performances we expect from these rosters. They get the job done there. But then in the semifinals, TSM rematch against the Healthy Chiefs. TSM came out the gate swinging. I was watch partying that with a bunch of people, and it was like, oh my god, TSM were on, baby. And then they weren't on. To be honest. It was a little bit rough. As you can see, there was an 8-1 in there. being the TSM caster, I've seen that screenshotted and sent to me, and I did not need to see it. But Chiefs just absolutely turned it on and just cooked after Game 3. Game 3 and onwards, they just got down, started winning. TSM looked good to start us off, and I don't think TSM really looked good by the end of the series. Wildcard Power. Power, I've got to say, massive respect for Power. The series that they gave for this wildcard roster. By the looks, it's the best performance that we see from anyone against Power, against Wildcard in this event. Of course, Wildcard Power. Wildcard used to be Power, so it's a little bit up in the air. Not up in the air, but it's a little bit like, oh yeah, Power, I mean Wildcard, I mean Power. No, I mean Wildcard. But Power, really good series. I thought Power looked really good also. In particular, I thought Scrub had a really, really good series in this series in particular. I think he did have a really good series against the Chiefs as well, but I think Scrub, for me, I think most people are expecting Gus to be that player, and I think Gus can be that player, but I also think Scrub in this open looked probably the strongest from the Power roster for me, and that being said anyway, Wildcard do get the job done in the end for over 2, and in the grand final, it felt like every grand final last season, to be honest. It felt like Power back in the day. Now Wildcard just going, you know what, we'll give them a game and then we'll just beat them. That really felt the way it went. Chiefs did put up a good performance in a couple of these losses, don't get me wrong. 1 goal difference, 1 goal difference, 1 goal difference. But by the end of it, Wildcard just turned it on and they looked good. And that's really what we expect from the Wildcard roster at this point. I think there's some question marks maybe over the offseason, where Wildcard didn't look so good as Jim as Mad Dogs, but of course they had Gus instead of B-Head, and then B-Head moves from the Chiefs over to Wildcard, and it really... We had a shake-up at the start of the offseason, and then by the end of the offseason, it was another shake-up. But of course, that does mean that Wildcard are currently leading with 15 points in the RLCS points run. Chiefs on 10 points, TSM and Power 7 each. And these are really the 4 teams we're looking at for Birmingham Major, realistically. Wildcard, especially with the first place here, it does just feel like they're going to go. It feels like there's no way we can predict any other roster than Wildcard at this stage. If I think you ask anyone realistically, Wildcard is just nailed on to be in that first major in Birmingham. Chiefs, I think, look good. I don't think they looked as good as they could look. TSM, I think, didn't look as good as they could look either. I really do hope we get to see a TSM Chiefs matchup that goes to the 7 or goes to the 5 at least. I think it should be a closer series than we saw. I don't think any of the TSM players played up to par for what we expect from them. And Power, I said it at the start, I think instead of looking at it as a 3 roster sort of area, I think we should be looking at it as a 4 roster. But that being said, Power will still be the third. Sorry. That being said, I think we should be looking at the top 4 as a top 4 and not a top 3, and then Kib Gang and then Power, sort of like that, you know, that explanation. But I think this Power roster, probably maybe after that performance in Open 1, should be getting a little bit more respect. I think probably more people see them and go, okay, they actually put up a fight. And I do think that realistically, we should be seeing maybe even a better performance from them in the next Open. But I think realistically, these 3 rosters, we could be seeing switch places throughout this split. And that could make for some very, very interesting content heading into the Birmingham Major. But that's pretty much all the information for the Open 1 here that I have for you. Of course, these top 8 teams all qualify straight through to the Swiss stage of the next Open. So they have that safety net of at least finishing in the top 32 of the region. So that's at least a comfort, I suppose. Anyone below them, I want to see Ground Zero bounce back. That's probably the main takeaway for me. I really want to see Ground Zero bounce back, maybe make that top 8 run, and I expect that they can make a top 8. It's just a matter of, will they make that top 8? But regardless, that's pretty much the takeaway from the event. That's pretty much it. If you want to watch the team streams, there's plenty of team streams going on. If we even scroll down to the bottom here, you can see there's a lot of team streams. Chiefs with Max Formal, Ground Zero with Ground Zero, TSM with myself on my Twitch. I Love Strawberry actually had Joyo do theirs. I don't know what the go with Screamswell is for the Open 2. Maybe Joya will be coming back. I don't know. But yeah, there's a lot of rosters, especially the top three. Well, sorry, top two rosters. Two of the top two rosters here in Chiefs and TSM having team stream. I'd expect that Wildcard should have a team stream sorted, and I'd probably expect that Power should also have a team stream sorted. But the links and wherever they are, I'm not too sure at this stage for the Open 2. But there's a lot of content. There's a lot of content going around. Keep an eye out for some 1v1 content as well. I know Ground Zero and I are looking forward to doing some 1v1 show matches for this stage of OCE. Especially Raziz seeming keen to be doing some 1v1 content. So keep an eye out for that stuff. Max Formal and I are actually, and Ground Zero are probably doing maybe a weekly or maybe every couple of weeks. We're going to be doing a little chat for an hour just about the current state of OCE and where we're going and what we're looking at and recaps of these sort of things, these events. So there's a bit to look forward to for the OCE content. I should be having a fun video come out soon as well, featuring a couple of pros, couple of casters, a couple of coaches, and etc. So we should be seeing that come out sometime soon. But again, thank you very much for watching. I hope you enjoyed this, and I'll see you next time. Have a good one.